The latest clash comes as DHS says Mexican drug cartels are now offering cash to target ICE officers and other federal agents.
Yeah, so the situation in Chicago right now is getting very serious for federal agents involved in Operation Midway Blitz. However, Homeland Security is also accusing the governor of Illinois for threatening their own agents.
The tables will turn someday. These people should recognize that maybe they're not going to get prosecuted today, although we're looking at doing that, but they may get prosecuted after the Trump administration.
And this is all within the context of what's happening in Chicago. Now, before we start the video, I need your help. Make sure to please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, and it also helps others see the videos as well. And for some reason, there are still people who don't realize what is happening in Chicago right now. It is starting to escalate, and we've been covering Chicago since day one on this channel, with the protesting and the clashing. Now it's getting quite serious, so make sure to please like the video so others will see what's happening.
Federal authorities this week announced charges against an alleged Chicago gang member they say was involved in a murder-for-hire plot involving Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino. Federal prosecutors say that 37-year-old Juan Espinoza Martinez used Snapchat to solicit people, offering them up to $2,000 for information on Bovino and up to $10,000 for his murder.
Okay, so here's where things get interesting. We talked about that case just last week. However, the initial reporting from Homeland Security was, well, it's the leadership of Homeland Security, Border Patrol, that's who's in trouble with these bounties. Now it looks like Homeland Security updated their entire messaging. It looks like anyone involved with Operation Midway Blitz inside of Chicago, they are all in danger. So you don't have to be the chief of Border Patrol anymore. Now it's anyone at all who's an ICE agent, Border Patrol, Homeland Security, FBI. If you're involved with this mission, you are under threat from cartel members or anyone who wants to make some money to take you out or give away your information.
5 to 10 grand for kidnapping of ICE agents or Customs and Border Patrol agents, non-lethal assault, $50,000 for the assassination of high-ranking officials.
This is how you know the cartel is serious. For $2,000 alone, if you just give them some information that could lead to where the ICE agents are, you get $2,000. Understand, there was an entire Facebook page recently that had to get deleted because it had all of the intelligence or leaks of where ICE agents were staying. Those people do it for free. Imagine now people can get paid $2,000 for doing that. Again, this is very scary stuff, and it goes to show the cartel is very serious about their pricing, and they want things to get done.
Here's Greg Bovino. He works in Chicago. Says he had a bounty on his head. Watch.
We've got $50,000 bounties on the heads of federal law enforcement officers. We have criminals ramming vehicles, criminals bringing guns to protests. This is not regular street crime here in Chicago. We have assaults on Border Patrol agents, ICE officers, and our allied law enforcement agencies every day, often multiple times per day. And again, these assaults, the lethality of these assaults is increasing.
How can your office...
And this is happening, again, every single day. It happens so much that Homeland Security is not even able to report it on their own websites. I really tried to go directly to the source, to Homeland Security, to give you guys the information of car ambushes, but it's happening so much we have to go to TikTok to find third-party sources to verify everything. Which, by the way, make sure to please subscribe to my channel, because on my channel, we are covering everything happening in Chicago right now, especially revolving around these type of situations.
Officials and ICE agents, this seems to only be getting worse, Tricia.
It's incredibly disturbing, Sandra. Homeland Security investigations, the FBI, our interagency intelligence partners are really all over this. What we're seeing, as you mentioned, is this tiered system, this coordinated and highly organized waging of war against our law enforcement and a terror campaign against them. We're seeing that they're offering $2,000 for intelligence about our ICE law enforcement agents surrounding, including their family, to dox them, $5,000 to kidnap an ICE law enforcement agent, and then even more money to kill them. And we've talked a lot about on this program and on other programs on this network about these ICE apps to locate ICE and CBP agents. And it's not just obstruction of justice that we've been seeing with that. We're also seeing this. They're now handing intelligence over to these cartels, these criminal rings.
Now look, you'll see everything is very vague. ICE tracking apps, these groups. I don't know who Homeland Security is referring to as far as groups are giving information to the cartel and the cartel are communicating with these groups. They're obviously not going to tell us anything, but one thing we can do is make an educated guess. Again, we're getting into the speculation. You guys can leave your comments down below. What we do know is that the DOJ was able to pressure Meta to take down entire Facebook pages or tell Meta that you have pages which are leaking the information of ICE agents. So if this is enough for the DOJ to act on, the DOJ, Homeland Security, obviously knows there's something going on behind the scenes, because you can't just tell a social media page, hey, take your stuff down, or an entire business. They have to provide some evidence and show we are willing to prosecute you if you do not take this down. Which, by the way, this was the issue with TikTok. The FBI, the DOJ had no way to go into the back end of TikTok and let them know, we know that there's crime going on behind the scenes with a specific page or group. We want to let you know this, otherwise you'll be prosecuted. You can't do that if everything belongs in China. This is how security agencies are able to pressure social media apps or groups to tell them you have crime going on your app. If you don't take it down, we will prosecute you. The government couldn't do that with TikTok. We'll get back to that story, but I think you guys are going to want to see this clip. Again, Homeland Security is seeing this as an escalation of force, threatening an entire agency, and really, they're not seeing this as a good thing.
The tables will turn someday. These people should recognize that maybe they're not going to get prosecuted today, although we're looking at doing that, but they may get prosecuted after the Trump administration for the things that they did because the statute of limitations won't have run. You know, we had the immigration services, ICE and CBP doing their jobs before the Trump administration, but they were doing it within the law.
Okay, and this is absolutely correct. In fact, I want to show you guys the stats before the Trump administration. ICE, Homeland Security, they were doing these deportations. Okay, for your general knowledge, just so you know, ICE was founded in 2003. That's when ICE became a thing. However, deportations has always been a thing within the US government or within the United States' history. But I do want to point out, as far as history goes, I cannot find another governor who has made a statement like, hey, we might start to prosecute agents or ICE or a federal entity once the president is gone. You know, we might be coming after you.
They're acting like a bunch of thugs and taking away people's free speech rights. They're taking away people's rights, by not identifying themselves. They're coming in with masks on. They're coming in with unidentified vehicles. These are all things that need to be taken up, again, by an inspector general or somebody investigating at the federal level because they have immunity at the state level. But we're looking at how we might be able to hold them responsible despite the fact of federal immunity.
Yeah, again, I am curious how you guys feel about this. I think the number one issue we obviously can see with something like this is that Homeland Security is already pointing the finger and saying these are obvious and very clear threats, but also when you generalize an entire police force and then you start pointing to the masks and the unmarked vehicles, I mean, pretty much every single agency within the United States who works in security has some sort of form of privacy, such as unmarked vehicles and masks. So this could really open up the door. If this investigation actually happened in prosecutions, I mean, you can start to do a lot of finger pointing to other agencies who are doing the same thing. So I hope we have peace in all of this, but I'm just trying to show you this is a real thing. The governor just had this interview. In fact, Homeland Security had a very serious response to the governor of Illinois. Again, they're calling it threatening to prosecute law enforcement for enforcing the law. And that's one thing we really have to remember. This is a legal institute within the United States created by members of Congress, the Senate, and signed off by the president, which means our representatives who represent the American people obviously support this as a thing within the United States. States. So again, I will leave it at that. You can leave your comments down below. I'm a little shocked that this is an actual interview by the governor because again, I can't find anywhere else where we see a lawmaker of this status, an actual governor who's willing to say, hey, we might come after you once this administration is done because we know we have the time. That's actually a little shocking. Okay, so you know on my channel, I love historical context with all of this. This clip is from back in May, and Kristi Noem talks about how the governor of Illinois does not allow for the police to cooperate with ICE. Now remember, here we are today, and this is the same exact complaint that Homeland Security is not getting help. Look at this correlation.
It has been a sanctuary state. The results have been absolutely disastrous for people who live here. In 2020, Governor Pritzker expanded access to taxpayer-funded free health care for illegal aliens. It has cost the citizens of Illinois $1.6 billion. He has been incentivizing illegals to come here and to live in this state. In 2021, Pritzker ordered local officials to stop cooperating and working with our ICE officers. In 2022, there were at least 400 to 500,000 illegal aliens in this state, and we know that there's even more here today. This governor has bragged about Illinois being a firewall against President Trump's immigration enforcement agenda. And it is very clear that he is violating the Constitution of the United States because it is a federal law that the federal government and the president set and enforce immigration policies.
So I'm just trying to show you guys, the Trump administration has also said, hey, we are looking into suing you, they are right now, but also using the law to look into your practices. So I was trying to figure out why now all of a sudden is the governor trying to fire back and say, we're going to come and prosecute you. Well, it's also the Trump administration saying, we're already prosecuting you and we're going to prosecute you furthermore. So I'm just trying to show you guys all of the correlation and all of the different sides of this story.
Well, there's power in numbers, there's safety in numbers. Secretary Noem, ever since that terror attack we saw in Dallas, she's been hardening our ICE facilities. President Trump has called in the National Guard, a very prescient and great, strong leadership we've seen from the President of the United States. But, I mean, we are seeing a coordinated, highly organized waging of war on our law enforcement on the streets of Chicago. These men and women are simply enforcing the rule of law and doing their job, and yet there's these foreign terrorists who are going after them. They're using a tiered system of bounties to go after them, whether it be family members, kidnapping, even these brave men and women. But
I will say, out of every single city I cover right now that has to do with deportations or these protesters, I think as of right now, Chicago is on a whole new level. When you look at it in its totality, whole new level. I do talk about Portland a lot. We see isolated on a 4-block area where we have stuff like this, the leaking of agents, the clashing. But Chicago, we're talking about the entire city seems to be under this threat for agents where anywhere they go, there could be an attack on them. So leave your comments down below how you feel about that. I think if the Trump administration had an argument for the National Guard or needing more federal assets, Chicago is going to be their strongest argument over Portland, in my personal opinion. And I cover Portland like a hawk. I cover that every single day. But Chicago, it's on a whole new level, guys.
I think it is incumbent upon J.B. Pritzker and the mayor out of Chicago to tell these cartels, to tell these Mexican drug rings and criminal rings, not in our city. Get out. These are American law enforcement, and we will not stand by for this. But they continue not to just put politics ahead of public safety, but ahead of humanity. This is un-American, and these leaders really should be standing up to these narco-terrorists and these Mexican cartels. Well,
and to be honest with you, we're also forgetting the fact that even the state police could be in some trouble. Again, with these sanctuary policies, and I made a video about it just yesterday, protesters were mad that the police and the mayor, they're starting to block off protesters who are trying to protest ICE. And as I make this video, I cannot find a statement from the mayor or the governor, mayor of Chicago, the governor of Illinois, talk about this situation and say, no, we don't want that, please stay out of our city. I can't find anything like that. Now, here's the very big news, and I want to make a separate video on this. You guys remember that whole fence in Chicago in the Broadview area that's supposed to be protecting the ICE building and protecting the protesters from the ICE building? Well, the fence is officially coming down. And this is from Nick Sorter, by the way, if you guys want to go follow him on X. So we're gonna have to wait and see what happens here, because now that the fence is gone, with the added tension in Chicago, I mean, I hope this doesn't add an emboldened mentality for protesters who now see the fence is gone and we can do something bad. We don't want to see that. We want peace in Chicago. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The last thing I really want to say is, like I always say, please pray for peace, and I hope you guys enjoyed this fair critique of all of this. I'm trying to give you guys all of the different perspectives, but the main goal is that by providing the facts, showing everybody what's going on, we have more peace in this country. That is the main intentions of all of this, and to be quite honest with you, this is quite an escalation of force. It's quite shocking, and I do hope that even local officials who hate ICE and don't like the Trump administration, maybe there's a way to figure out how, hey, look, let's all come together and figure out how we can deal with this. Thank you guys so much for everything. God bless, and we'll see you all later.